You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Hello and welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the business talk show here on Business Talk Radio and social media. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life and career coach. And this program wouldn't be the same without my fantastic co-host, Mr. Al Cini. Hello, Al.
Yeah, and every week we do this, you raise the bar a little higher, Dr. Jacalyn. Hi, nice to see you. Always a pleasure working with you. Thanks.
I'm so excited that we're here together. It's inauguration day here in the United States. And so we've got lots to talk about, and we've got a fabulous guest here today. Her name is Maarti DeFonce, and go ahead.
You do such a great job finding terrific, intriguing, very creative people to put on the program, and I'm really looking forward to talking to Maarti about a learning platform she's created called Edgagment.com.
Yes, it's really a terrific, fantastic. I have experience with it, and it's one of those things where I met Maarti through a mutual connection years ago. And it's funny how life comes full circle, how you meet someone and you just have this chemistry as people, like we have chemistry, and it's kind of cool to see where it can go. So Maarti has really done a great job with her organization and her platform, and I'm excited for her to share it with us.
Well, there are a lot of differentiating elements to it. I mean, most people learn the way we learned in the 60s and the 70s, but we live in a world that is moving at a much faster pace. We're surrounded by digital media, all sorts of digital media. We think differently today than we did even 5 or 10 years ago. And sounds like Maarti's built a platform that's designed for the way people think today. And really excited to learn more about that.
Yes, it's kind of like bite-sized or snackable pieces of data that you can access on your mobile device.
Well, that's for a guy with a very short attention span. That sounds perfect for me. I think a lot of other people are like that today too. So it's going to be fun to learn about that.
I think that's funny about your attention span, because I'm surprised you're still working with me, because I'm sure I must try.
Well, the fun of it is you move in a lot of different directions and pretty much all at the same time. And that is, I really do, Dr. Jacalyn, have to give you an awful lot of credit. I think you've built out, part of what Maarti does is brand development. And I think you've done a very good job creating on the fly a very compelling brand for yourself and for the content you bring to everybody.
Well, thank you, my friend. I couldn't have done it without you, and I couldn't have done it without Chris Roberts either from Business Talk Radio. You guys have been my rock, so thank you so much.
Pleasure working with you.
So before we bring Maarti out, I want to play her clip, which I think will really give us some more introspective as to what it is that she does and what her platform does. So let's take a look.
Meet the modern learner. Like most of us, the modern learner is short on time, on the go, and wants to learn on their terms and device of choice. The key is to meet them whenever and wherever they may be. The solution? Best-in-class content served up by the Edgagment mobile learning platform, where the modern learner is at the center of the learning experience. For example, they can receive a text message that alerts them to a new learning module. They simply tap, watch, read and engage, or play a fun learning game. We transform your content into modules that are timely, accurate, academically rigorous, yet engaging and robust. Personality motivators are blended with modern adult learning principles to make it faster and more natural to absorb the content and have fun while learning. Our cutting-edge platform offers something for everyone. It can be an immersive experience where learners explore and engage based on what's relevant to them in that moment, or they can follow a set curriculum, earning badges and tracking points toward a credit or goal. Or they can dive deeper into high-value professional content relating to their topic of interest. It's binge learning at its best. All this, along with an entire portfolio of real-time usable data and KPIs for stakeholders. Imagine, share up-to-the-minute news, enhance current curriculum, build knowledge banks, drive sales, and foster community in the push of a button. To learn more or see a demo, please contact support@edgagment.com.
That is really well done. Congratulations, Maarti. There's cool dynamics in there and graphics. I'm sorry in Business Talk Radio if you can't see it, but hopefully you got the whole understanding of what it is her platform does and how it can be delivered to you on your mobile devices. So Maarti will share more about that. But we do have a comment from our friend Lisa Maniocchi. That's all to Al. Thanks.
As I was watching the video, I was thinking, Maarti, you have 3 prospects in the StreamYard with you, because one of the things that we've all been thinking about are how do we take some of the things that we know and make them available to people so that they can learn more about them. And, there are a lot of platforms out there, but yours is different. I'm really grateful for this chance to learn about how you do it differently.
Let's bring Maarti out. I'm going to say live from New Jersey, because I think that's where you are. Live from New Jersey, it's Maarti DeFonce, the Chief Experience Officer of Edgagment.
All the smart people are in New Jersey.
Well, some of them, hopefully.
Well, the 3 of us are all in New Jersey, and so is Lisa Maniocchi. So
Cool.
There we go. So yeah, Edgagment came about really just by traveling with clients in all of these years and saying, well, what do people need? What do our clients need? And having worked in business to business marketing for over 20 years, I can say that, I'm pre-internet, which is definitely dating myself. But, back in the day, you handed out binders full of content. And then the expectation was go home, read it, and start selling. And as time went on and technology evolved, we all really began to rely on our mobile devices, and a lot of learning platforms that were already in existence just did not make the leap from a large screen to the small screen. Mm-hmm. And really, truly, we bring a very social media-like experience to learning, except it's business learning. It's not like, sure, it's fun to look at a YouTube video or a TikTok and, how do I bake a cake or decorate, a cake, or, those are all fun things to learn, but not, how do you teach somebody something more specific about a product? That's an entirely different type of learning. And so taking our background in design and what we know about brand development and then applying that to these social media expectations of what can be done with our phone, that's how we've really kind of arrived at this place where we are today. Well,
listen, you're making a point for me. Everybody is smarter than I am, and you're just another example of that. And the reason why that's so intriguing to me is that I've been through death by PowerPoint, where you sit in a room and somebody walks through slides, and it's torture and agony for everybody, including the presenter. And but then again, a lot of learning, really, a lot of online learning, especially, is nothing but forklifting those death by PowerPoint slides and making an online learning module out of them. And what I like about your approach with Edgagment is this means you've got to rethink everything from the ground up. And so talk about that. What do I have to, if I want to teach somebody something using Edgagment, how do I chunk it up so that it works on your platform?
And that's a great question. And I get asked a lot, what is a micro moment? What does that even mean? What's the length of time that something would be considered a micro moment? And I like to say that it's in business learning, I think it's somewhere between maybe 5 to 10 minutes, because most people can find 5 to 10 minutes in their day without having to pull out their calendar. So I like to call these non-calendar moments in your day, because people are very scheduled, right? So even if you ask them for a half an hour, it's, oh, let me go to my calendar. And then you're really missing the spontaneity of what that interaction might be. So if you're talking about, let's just call it 10 minutes, then it would be a combination of, well, let me watch a video, I'll play a game, I'm going to engage with content that's got all different kind of animated effects included in it. And also we scroll our content up and down like you would any other news feed. So I think the big win is that you can actually scroll through the content and choose the order in which you want to engage with it. So let's say there's 4 or 5 subjects on the page at one time. Think of it as a really long page, scrolling page. It's not always necessary to put things in order, like they must look at content number 1 before they can access number 2 and 3, because we're all, people also have different levels of knowledge on a subject. So you can't put people in a box and say, you can't look at content 2 until you unlock number 1. Well, what if I already know about 1 and 1 is boring to me? I just want to go straight to 2. So it's really putting people in control of their learning experience and letting them navigate however it works for them, because it's like a flight map. There's 1,000 different ways to get there. There's not just a direct flight. There's not, 2 stops along the way. There's 100 different ways.
Well, that makes it a lean in experience. I like it because it's lean forward. I want to learn something. I take charge of the process. I chart my own course through it. I think that's brilliant.
That is the word I was going to say, Al. Brilliant. When we think about all the training that we've had to go through in the course of our lives, this is just genius.
Well, and it's truly, you mentioned the death by PowerPoint and being in these presentations. I've sat through them as well, and it's very, you tune out. And I think that's the biggest threat to any online learning environment, is when people tune out, because you're force feeding a particular agenda in a particular fashion. And so that has been a really eye-opening experience for our clients, having to rethink the way that they are delivering their content, and to think of it like social media. Like we can all scroll through Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and we just bounce around, like, oh, let me totally dive into this for a minute, and then you bounce out, and then you go to something else. But if you can really get someone to focus on something for even just 3 minutes, that 3 minutes is so much more impactful than a half an hour of daydreaming through a PowerPoint.
Wow. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a whole bunch of people who would want to call you, Maarti, and learn more about this. And we already know Lisa Manioki's watching, and she and I are working separately on training programs for 2 things that we're doing.
Okay.
And the first thing we think, of course, is a platform like Thinkific. But I'm thinking, if we're going to use engagement instead, do you give us everything we need on the platform? Do we need course development tools? Is there anything else we need besides what you give?
Well, the platform is an authoring tool. So you have everything you need in order to produce really excellent looking modules and games. It would be helpful if you knew how to make a really good PowerPoint, back to PowerPoint, but in a positive way. Having good control over graphics, understanding font sizes, and then, those are some basic graphic skills that I think anybody would say would be required. And then after that, it's your imagination, it's your content. How do you want to deliver the content? And what should that say? So instructional design certainly is an important element. And that would be, I'd say, all you really need to know is, what is your content, what is the flow, and what do you want it to look like? And then the rest can be done all on the platform.
Cool.
Great discussion. We need to pause for a break to hear from some of our sponsors and our friends. So let's take a short break and stay with us here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the business talk show with Al Cini and our special guest, Maarti DeFonce.
Maarti DeFonce. Excellent. We'll be right back. Good.
Hey everybody, my name is Ralph Graves Jr. I'm the host of the Ralph Graves Jr. Show, and I want to invite you to pick up my book, Unstoppable. I wrote a book called Unstoppable. It's 7 universal laws that will transform how you pursue and achieve success. The one thing that my 20 years of law enforcement has taught me is that no matter who you are, we are all governed by universal laws, like gravity. But in this book, we're going to talk about laws like the law of forgiveness, laws like the law of control, the law of intelligent practice, the law of expectancy. I was able to see how those, no matter what their background was, those who identified and treated these laws with respect, they were able to go on and lead successful lives. So pick up this book, and you can go ahead and pick it up at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, RalphGravesJr.com, where anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you.
There are 7.7 billion people on Earth today. 40% of these people are under the age of 25. Young adults are the most fertile mission field in the world today. In Scripture, we see Jesus pouring his life into 12 young adults who he equipped to change the world and all of history. Like Jesus, we believe that the best approach to reach the world with the gospel is to invest in young, emerging leaders and equip them to build disciple-making movements. Concentric is the notion of surrounding and sharing a common center. Our center is the model and strategy of Jesus for both leadership development and ministry formation. As a global alliance, we provide equipping in biblical leadership based on Jesus' example in the New Testament. Jesus modeled for us how to make disciples that reproduce. Focusing on leadership development is key to creating movements that spread the gospel and Jesus' disciple-making strategy to young leaders around the globe. Our Ministry Alliance partners are actively equipping leaders and building movements of multiplication that reproduce the life of Christ. Join us today to equip young leaders with Jesus' strategy that will change cities and nations.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
Academy Sedan and Limo is a full-service transportation company serving the Philadelphia metropolitan area with full knowledge of the New York City, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. areas. We pride ourselves on being the most dependable, conscientious company in the industry. Our always on-time service and dependable pricing make us the company to call for any event or occasion. Our vehicles can accommodate any size party for any occasion. Our vehicles range from four-door sedans to SUVs to minivans to limo buses to full-size tour buses and can accommodate groups of 2 to 100. We offer airport shuttle service or over-the-road service without limitation regarding mileage or time, and no drive is too long or too far. So if you find yourself in need of transportation of any type with any vehicle, give us a call at 610-842-4564 and let us show you what a real transportation company can do for you.
Use code ACADEMY2020 to receive 20% off your first 3 rides, including parking and tolls.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the Business Talk Show, live here on Business Talk Radio and social media. I'm so excited to have Cini with me today and our special guest, Maarti DeFonce. And before we begin, I just have to digress for a second. We're not going to go into the details, but Maarti, do you remember the call we went on, the Empire State Building in New York? We went on a joint sales call.
Yes, I very much remember, Jacalyn. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
We will have to have you on the variety show so we can talk about what actually happened on that sales call. But it was definitely legendary.
It was legendary. I mean, like, yeah, only you could do what you did, though. Nobody else.
It was fun. We do have a comment here. We have a comment. Hey, Maarti, can you talk about pricing?
Sure. So pricing, we have a couple of different ways that we work with clients. If you have an in-house team and you need training and you feel like this is something that your team could take on, then that's more of a white label agreement. So it would be a white label agreement with some however much training is needed, and that's one way to go. The other way to go is that we can build the modules and the games and the different things for you, since we are, of course, experts in our own platform. We have designers, at our ready that could take your content and then professionally build it out. And then after that, if you wanted to have somebody on your team take it to administrate, they can do that, or we can do the whole thing. So I think that's there's a kind of an open-ended way of looking at that conversation.
Good. Sounds like you're willing to work with your clients and give them different offerings in terms of pricing.
Yeah, and it's necessary, because not everybody has an education department with people who are really dedicated to education and training. Oftentimes this might fall on, the IT people or marketing, or, so we become sort of that glue that holds it all together. And then in other cases, we have clients who have 5 and 6 people on a team, and they're like, hey, we just need to know how to do this, train us, and we'll take it and run, and then we'll have maybe monthly consultations to see how they're doing, discuss metrics, give them ideas on how to increase engagement, or to look at the ROI they've gained with having people come back to the site 6 and 7 times from one text message we send out. So, there's a lot of consultation that could just go on. That's all the do.
Maarti, for our friends who are listening on the radio, can you please give your contact information? We have it scrolling, but what's the best way to reach you?
Well, certainly through LinkedIn. I am, my company name then is Edgagement, EDGAGEMENT. So you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can send an email to mdefonce@edgagement.com. And that would certainly be another great way to reach me.
Thanks for sharing that. So we'd love to hear from you, our viewers and our listeners. We see you're out there. We know you're out there. If you want to call in with a question for Maarti, the phone number to call is 631-730-5468. 631-730-5468. And also, we'd love to hear from you on social media. So keep those comments coming. We love it.
I think it's great. I broke one of my own rules during the break, and instead of watching the commercials and patronizing the sponsors, I hopped over to your website, Maarti, and took a look. There is a lot there, and it really is very impressive. And I guess I have a couple of questions for you. It looks like you've got some reusable content that people could use to get started with a course on Edgagment.
Well, I think that, most people who need a learning management platform or learning experience platform, which is a more modern term, they have some kind of training material. Oftentimes today, people have videos, for example. So, let's say you have a new product launch, and you want to make sure that the people, all of your sales teams, have at least watched the video and can competently answer questions. So what could be a really great basic program would be, they could send out a text message to their teams that would then lead them to the platform where they could watch a video, presumably under 3 minutes. Then they could answer some questions about it, and we can measure comprehension, application. We can measure selling skills. We can measure product knowledge. Can they answer basic questions? Is there more advanced information that they should be able to compare and contrast between two different products? So part of what we can do is just simply assess where the knowledge gaps are. And if you have a sales force that has a high turnover, then that's really important because the new people coming in clearly don't have the same knowledge as your veteran salespeople. So they have different levels of training. They're not at the same place in the tenure with the company. We cannot keep them the same.
We have a question from the lovely Diane Boehm, who is going to be a guest co-host on Friday on the Variety Show. Hi, Diane. Do you ever design a curriculum and the students learn at their pace? And then how does the evaluation work?
Sure, great question. And yes, we do design a curriculum. We have, we call them learning journeys. So again, using a typical example, which could be that you have a manufacturing company of some kind, and they have all different products and services. And so they have a distribution sales force as well as an internal sales force. So how do you keep all of these people engaged? And that would be through these learning journeys where they could earn certificates, they could earn badges. So that's part of the curriculum design, right? Is okay, if I do these 10 things, then I get my certificate. I've completed my curriculum. And people do definitely learn at their own pace and their own space. So I think it's fascinating to see when people actually log in. There are a lot of people who come on the platform very early morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, or even 12 or 1 o'clock at night. So, you can't shove people into a box and say, okay, you must log in at 1 p.m. on Thursday and, do this 30-minute or 60-minute exercise, because maybe they have something else going on work-wise that they just simply need to attend to something else, or they're distracted. So giving people that space to do things when they want to do them means the engagement is that much more sticky and memorable.
Wow.
You touched on something, Maarti, that has always been near and dear to my heart, coming from decades, I hate to say, of being in the employee recognition space. And you talked about those badges and certificates. How important do you think they are in terms of gaining mind share and having people come back to the platform so then they can achieve getting a certificate or a badge?
I think they are very important because it does give people small goals to work toward on, whatever the basis is. And we've had some really fascinating feedback from our clients. We have some people who say, don't tell me what I need to do. I just want to go on and explore and learn and be, and be inspired by what I feel like that day. Like today, I feel like learning about this widget. Tomorrow, I'm going to feel like learning about that widget. But then we have other clients who are like, no, I need to be onboarded in a particular way, and I need to meet goals, and I need to know what my goals are, and they have to be laid out for me in a way that's very clear so that I know I'm doing what I need to do to be successful. So that's why we give the option of, hey, if you want to learn in a particular way, or if you're into badges and stuff like that, then this is where you can go. Or if you're not into that and you just want to kind of fly under the radar and not have people knowing exactly what you're doing, because you're charting your own course, then you can do that too. And I would say it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's I think the approach is so novel and so interesting. I can think of a million questions asked, but I'll start with an obvious one. Is there a sweet spot application that a corporation would want addressed that Edgagment is uniquely effective at solving?
I think that the prime example for where Edgagment is really beneficial could be what is the cross section between product knowledge and selling skills? Because just because you know about a product does not mean that you can sell it effectively, and vice versa. You have people who are great salespeople, but they have knowledge gaps. So through a very simple pre-assessment, a gamified pre-assessment, we can find out what is that product knowledge and where are their selling skills, and then how do we get them to be at those optimal levels so that at least one way or the other. Like, for example, well, they have the product knowledge but they're not selling, so that it's not about they have to go back to basics and they have to sit through all of this training because they don't know what they're doing. No, they do know. They're missing the sales piece. And I think we can probably have all sat through those back to basics, right? Like the sales team isn't performing, so it's back to basics, and then there you are stuck with people who maybe do need to be there, right? So it does provide you with some clarity around the product knowledge versus selling skills.
That back to basics reminds me of that Monday morning sales call that we would all have when we go through the numbers. We got to go back to basics, people. We've got another comment from Diane. Excellent. Pace and space equals learning journey. Thank you so much, Diane. We are going to take a quick break and hear from some of our other sponsors. We're going to start off with Ashley Owens, and she's going to talk about networking. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on Wrapping with Dr. Jacalyn, the business talk show.
Networking sucks and people suck at it, but nothing gives me more life than walking around and talking to people in an audience and really being able to identify, okay, I see where you're having trouble, let's work on fixing it. How do you help them? How do you provide value? My goal is to give them those tools to be able to go out and tackle that fear. Anywhere there's coffee is where I'll be. So I bring candy a lot to my speaking engagements. Like, of course that makes sense. I'm a little unconventional.
Ashley was very knowledgeable.
Very entertaining.
I learned a few new things, and to me that's the key.
What do you want them to say? How do you want to be perceived? You're going to get the most direct, tactical tips and practical takeaways when it comes to networking. These two here are super important. You'll remember once the conversation starts.
I love the tips that she gave out. I hate networking with a passion, so I feel like I can go through a meeting or event and not feel so uncomfortable.
When you're going to a presentation, you want to be educated. You also want to be entertained.
She was really fun and really personable, and everything she was saying was just very relatable.
She's got a lot of great ideas.
That will make you stand out so fast.
She comes across as someone that likes what they do and just doesn't try to sell you something.
Activity breeds results. If you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere.
Just made me want to start networking, which I never thought I'd say before.
A networking strategy that works for you.
Looking for children's books to embrace the imagination, to inspire your kids to be the best they can be and to love themselves? Look no further. Children's author DianeFloydBain.com. You'll find the books right there and on Amazon and local stores.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacalyn. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacalyn.com to book an appointment today.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, where great ideas come to life every day. My name is Al Cini. That just popped into my head.
Love it.
My name is Al Cini, and of course, I'm joined by our fearless leader, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Always a pleasure working with you. And we have a great guest, Maarti DeFonce. And Maarti, during the break, I was thinking, if I'm a company or any organization that might have mandatory training, let's say some kind of soft skills training, let's say diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, can I track who's taken it and make sure that everybody takes it? Do you have a learning management component in your platform?
Absolutely. We have a whole host of different types of reports. And without a doubt, you can know who took what, who looked at what. And I think one of the most fascinating reports we have is the frequency report. So that means how many times per month did that user or learner come to the platform, and when were their highest levels of engagement. So you can see, like, for example, you could go to my profile, you could click on it, and then it will show you a chart that says, well, I went on, between 10 and 11 o'clock at night, 4 nights in a row. And then that will give you some insights as to what time works best for me versus somebody else who might be going on at 6 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. As I said before, everybody kind of has their sweet spot as to when they want to do these things. So yes, you can, but I think it's the frequency that is most compelling because, of course, people need to come onto the platform and they need to do what they need to do, but you want them to come back. And so that's the piece that's fascinating. And we're finding, like, we work with a lot of really, I have to say, global brand leaders, particularly in the health and beauty space. So our insights are, really blowing their minds. I was just on the phone with a client earlier today, and we were looking at the frequency report, and she's a new hire. And this person in the month of January has already come back to the platform on 12 different occasions because she's training. So, she's on the floor of a store, selling a particular product. And so before she goes to work or during her lunch break or whatever, she can look at her phone, get that quick couple of minutes, learn about a product, and then go back out and be effective on the sales floor. So that is a really great way to think about, what is the sweet spot in our metrics, is being able to dive as deeply as that.
Good. Great.
Maarti, I have a question for you about where you're going to take this platform. But before we go there, I really want to encourage our audience, someone out there, pick up the phone right now. Pick up the phone and call 631-730-5468. Chris Roberts is at Business Talk Radio in Long Island, and he's there with the phone. The phone needs to ring. So I'm challenging one of you to pick up the phone and make a call. Thank you so much.
Out of town, call collect. Maarti, I have another question for you, and it's kind of along the lines of Diane's question. How do I know somebody's learned something? I know that your platform supports quizzes and exams. Yeah. What kind of items can I create in a quiz or an exam and ask people?
Well, we have 15 different types of games. So they could be a drag and drop game, true, false. We could show two different products and say level 3 learning experience that you can find. Some games we probably should look for patents for, because they were things that we really developed on our, truly just out of need, and we didn't see them anywhere. And then other things are, tried and true, like I said, like a drag and drop, true, false, multiple choice. But we put a spin on it that really makes it interesting. Like I said, you could watch a very quick clip of a video and then say what happens next. Okay, and so those types of things. So it could be process, putting things in order. There's a whole range of games. So understanding the client need is, of course, step number one, and then presenting them with what we feel are the best options based on what they're saying. We can mix and match all different solutions for them.
Wow.
Maarti, when you look out a year, 2 years, 5 years, where do you want to take this platform? Where do you see it going?
Well, my elevator pitch, I would say it's really like the Netflix of learning. So, for example, we're getting to a place with a couple of clients where we have enough content that we can actually now make recommendations. Like, you liked this game, so maybe you'll like this other game. So being able to make recommendations based on usage and frequency, because we're not scripting where people have to go, we know what they are naturally looking to do. And so I could look at somebody's profile and I can see they definitely like playing games, or this person really likes to watch videos. This other person really likes to read. I mean, we all have different learning styles. So once I know what somebody's learning style is, we can then really begin to bring in some artificial intelligence to create that Netflix of learning environment.
Wow.
Really interesting. Al, what type of learner are you? You visual?
I'll tell you the part of Edgagement, I think that it appeals to me or intrigues me the most is the gamification part.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get very many opportunities to learn by playing games online. And to work on a platform that actually creates a tool that makes that relatively easy so that you can create a game that much more effective, I think, than a quiz for a lot of people to confirm that they really learned something. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how that works on the platform, Maarti.
Sure, absolutely. It's no more difficult to put together our games than it would be to put together a PowerPoint, as I use that as an example earlier in our conversation. So, but to that point, Al, what's really funny? Back to the reactions from people. There are probably just as many people who love to learn through games and using that as a metric to say, well, let me see what I know about a topic and play the game to find out how much they really know. But then there's this whole other camp who says, I can't possibly take a quiz because I haven't learned about that yet. So those are the things that I find really fascinating. And so there's this whole neuroscience behind gamification that, depending on your personality style and depending on your learning style, you may find it invigorating to learn through gamification, or you may be somebody who just simply wants to learn first and then prove that you know about that topic after you've already completed some kind of compulsory, video, or you've read something, or maybe you've been in person or in a class.
Interesting. Dr. Jacalyn, I'll turn that question around. What kind of learner are you?
I'm more visual.
Think so?
I think so. Yeah. What were you going to say about me?
Well, I think I would have said that. I knowing what I know about you, I think you resonate more with pictures than with words.
Yes.
And having a creative platform that allows you to use both, which reminds me of another area, by the way. I do an awful lot of work with people in business, and most companies don't really invest as much as they need to in onboarding new employees.
Totally.
They just don't.
Right.
And so the onboarding process is very uneven. For some people it might be great, for other people it might be totally non-existent. I'm thinking that this is a great solution for that, isn't it?
It is. And that's one of the areas that I try to encourage our clients to really think about. And in particular, when you're in a high turnover type of environment. Onboarding is tremendously important because people need to feel supported, and then back to the goal setting. So, you log onto the platform, you do one or two things and you've earned a badge, and now you feel like you're a part of a team, right? And you're you're achieving goals and you have some early successes. So I think that onboarding is a very, very powerful component. And especially today, all of our onboarding is happening online, at least right now, right? So, of course, through Zoom calls, and then, the expectation is that you're doing things on your own. So having a really tight program around onboarding is really key. And we're having some really interesting conversations around that with back to global teams. We do a lot of international work. So, and people are predominantly, all they have is a phone. A lot of businesses do not give computers to people. And so how do you educate somebody who really only has a mobile device?
I think that's a great discussion point. Let's get back to that after we take a break and hear from our sponsors. Let's see what BCAT and Dr. Jacalyn have been up to.
Good.
We'll be right back.
Have you ever tried to build people into a team? Maybe you've tried bowling, or ziplining, or paintball, or pizza making. These events can be fun, and they can make everybody happy for a while. But in the long run, do they really turn people into a team? Now, imagine the members of your team scattered all over the world, working from trains and airplanes, from remote offices, client locations, or working from home. How do you build a winning team when your playing field might be the entire world? With BCAT, we've created the answer. Working completely online, no matter where your people are, we turn them into an engaged and motivated team in 3 simple steps. First, we use the BCAT survey, which they can take online, anywhere, anytime, to reveal the North Star that represents their shared pride in the work they do. Next, we work with your team's leaders and stakeholders to convert that North Star into a role target, an ideal virtual person who represents your team's best self, living its best day at work. With our internet tools, we hang your North Star high in the sky, where everyone on your team can see it, no matter where in the world they might be. Then we guide and help everyone on your team in creating personal plans to align themselves with your team's North Star. We help each of them develop the positive habits that, day by day, every day, steer them closer to your North Star, aligning themselves with your team's signature dreams and ideals. And over the long haul, we offer programs and coaching techniques that help them stick to their plans. Remote team building isn't hard, it doesn't take long, and it's just as much fun as pizzas and paintball. You build winning teams around a purpose, not a place. BCAT is the answer.
Every day it was the same old story. I worked hard to make sure no one noticed what I was dealing with, but my stomach never cared where I was. And the pain just kept coming. After too many close calls and even weight loss, I had to do something. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation helped me realize what was going on and even helped me find a specialist. Don't hide your symptoms. Get help at spillyourguts.org.
Have you just lost your job or have been laid off and you are looking to transition to a new job or career? Maybe you have even tried submitting tons of applications and yet you keep getting turned down for jobs you qualify for. Don't wait until you become overwhelmed with rejections when you can easily transition or get your dream job. Let MJW Careers guide you to the right career path and a better, brighter future. At MJW Careers, we know what hiring managers are looking for, and our goal is to land you the job you deserve. What makes MJW Careers a wonderful provider over other services is our pragmatic and scientific approach to resume writing. There are rules, there are visual cues, there are content best practices. We understand those and work within the boundaries to ensure our clients' messaging appeals to the decision makers. Our career consultants will help you transition into new roles quickly and effectively. With our experience in virtually every industry, we will provide direction in the frustrating job market by helping you write a customized, professional resume and prepare you for your interview as well. Join the great number of people we have helped scale up to greater things in their careers. Let us help you on your career journey. Come visit us, www.jobstickers.com, to learn more and grab a free resume review or ebook.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello again. A big thank you to our sponsors. You are tuned into Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn here on Business Talk Radio and social media. And the gentleman who's with me today, Mr. Al Cini, is always making me laugh and such a good influence on our audience. Thank you, Al.
Well, it's my pleasure, and it was fun learning what we're actually up to when we're not doing the program. It was that was a good break, and I enjoyed watching. And I got this idea during the break too. And then Maarti, I owe this all to you. You're such an inspiration. There is this concept. I actually had a friend of mine in sales who referred to something that he was handed by his marketing department as a Franken deck, which is a PowerPoint deck that has grown over the decades and now has every slide anybody could imagine in it. And he's expected to kind of pick his way through that live in front of an audience. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know if it's possible, but I would like to consider maybe using Edgagment in front of an audience as a way to present a topic and facilitate the learning process using Edgagment instead of PowerPoint. Would anybody ever do that?
Absolutely. That gets done actually all the time. And because we have games that, like, let's say, for example, if you were in a live audience, you could have everybody pull out their phone and log in, and then be able to put something on the screen. It could be a quiz, drag and drop your blah 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 blah, and then they could answer the question, and then in live time could actually see the results. And actually, we the classroom approach, or our solution, I should say, is called Quizzard. And it's meant specifically for live audience interaction. So it's a lot like Kahoot, if you've ever heard of Kahoot. A lot of people use that. So it's our version of being in front of, our version or our solution to, I'm in front of a group of people. How do I engage them, capture those metrics, and then roll those metrics into their overall profile. So now we can know, what did that person learn or do when they were in person? How does that person learn virtually? Where are they in their badging and their curriculum? So you really get a 360-degree view of that learner, and you're really taking them from every facet of their learning experience with the company.
Yeah. And on top of all that, it would be a lot more fun.
Yeah. Anytime that you can break things up and have people do things that are hands-on, I think overwhelmingly people would agree that any kind of hands-on experience during a live event is always a welcomed way to keep people engaged. And everybody's going to have their phone out anyway. I mean, you can go to these events and they say, put your phone down, but let's be real. That's not really going to happen. And Jacalyn, I'm sure with all of the training you've done, you've probably heard that enough times in your life, and it's just not reality.
Yeah, you have the handbag open with the phone in there, so you're still checking everything. So, Maarti, as we're coming to the top of the hour, I really want to congratulate you. I remember when you were first getting started. So as we think about this time, the pandemic, and so many people maybe have lost their jobs, they've lost their way, they're in a job that they don't want to have. Can you just share a little bit about your journey and how you kept going when challenges faced you?
Definitely. The one thing I would say is that, I have not found my career to be, this upward trajectory where every day or every year was moving in an upward line. I think sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a step forward. And that's really what I did even in creating Edgagment. As I had mentioned, 20, probably more like 25 years now of being in the business to business, creative role between marketing and creative. There was no internet when I started to work. There was no email for that matter. And now look at how you have to embrace technology. And I really think that's and embrace change and understand when you have to pivot and not be fearful of those pivots. And we all know in our gut what that means, depending on where you are in your career. If you're really miserable and you're in your 20s, my advice would certainly be to find a way to become unmiserable, because the road is too long. But yet, if you're in a tenured position and you can find a way to make it through to the end, and then, sometimes you have to look at life and say, well, I may not have that satisfaction in my job like I used to. So find it in doing volunteer work or other things. But, not every day is going to be a perfect day. Not every year is going to be a perfect year. But you just have to know when to pivot and when to make moves, to keep working towards some kind of a goal, whatever that goal might be. And some people, I would say, entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Right.
Absolutely not for everybody. So knowing yourself and really getting real with your life and who you are, that's really important too. And Jacalyn, you went from super corporate to entrepreneurship, so you made that jump, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, but it sure is a lot of fun.
It can be great fun. I want to point out, because I know we're getting pretty close to the end of the program. I want to point out too, Maarti, and you're reviewing your journey.
Yeah.
Edgagment is new and fresh and innovative, but it's been around for 8 years.
It has been. Yes.
So, and that's important to know, because it's a mature product that you can rely on and depend on. It's not a science project.
No, it is not. We've got 15 clients who year over year have been growing with us. So I'm really proud to say that, as I mentioned before, we do a lot of work in the health and beauty space. And we have had clients who've grown and reinvested year over year for the last even 5 or 6 years. And that's been really just, that's the best testament of all, is when you have these huge companies who say, I really believe in this approach and it's needed. And, there's a time and a place for that massive learning system where, you've got all kinds of HR and this and that in there. And then there's times where I just need those bite-sized chunks to go out to people. And I don't want it to be this enormously complicated thing to do. And that's really where we come into play.
Great.
Maarti, would you share with our audience again how they can get in touch with you?
Yes. You can find us at edgagement.com, which is edgagement.com. You can certainly find us on LinkedIn. And I would say those are the two best places. And then, of course, you can email me, mdefonce at edgagement.com. So again, MDEFONCE at edgagement.com.
Fantastic. You have been a terrific guest, and it's a pleasure to see you and that you're doing so well. And I hope that continues for you and you just grow exponentially, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for never giving up, Maarti.
Yes.
Great result.
Got to pivot and go.
Pivot and go. Good word. So thank you, Maarti. We'll see you backstage. We'll be right there.
Okay. Thank you.
So, Mr. Cini, that was a fantastic interview. So much good information for our audience and also for us. We've got a show coming up at 4. It's A Better You. And I'd like if you would just share with our audience, what is a better you?
Well, a better you, and it's right along the lines that we've been discussing. A better you is about creating content, essentially content, drawing on the expertise of some of the best known coaches and consultants and trust advisors in the world, offering 15-minute lessons to explain things to people that can change their lives in a positive way. And so far, I mean, I was just one of the presenters, and it was a fun experience for me. But a lot of the presenters have offered a lot of really great ideas that I think a lot of people got a lot out of. So that's using the word a lot of times.
And today we have Jeff Nishwich, who's going to be joining us. So
great to see him come back. He's got a lot to share on just building teams and in leadership.
He's terrific. And tomorrow at 11, we have Mildred D. Muhammad and Pat Roquet.
Great. Those great guests.
Yes, they're really
great guests.
So, Al, if you can also, before we close, if you can just let our audience know where we're going, because you have some incredible ideas. And I just want to tease up a little bit about this A Better You training platform, which is different. We've got interviews, we've got panel/presenters, and now we're going to offer this training platform.
It would be great if all that content had a place to live that was structured and organized so that a learner could browse it. And as I was listening to Maarti, I was beginning to wonder if maybe Edgagment might not be a good home for it. It is still in the formative stages, and we're still making some basic fundamental architectural decisions about it. But the ultimate end state is A Better You is a place where you can go to learn how to be a better coach or a trusted advisor or a consultant, or to learn skills that help you live a better life.
Very well said, my friend. Thank you for that. So please come back and join us today at 4 o'clock Eastern time. Also, we have our show tomorrow at 4 o'clock, which is It's All About Dating with the lovely Lisa Maniocchi, who is our co-host. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, we have A Better You at 11 o'clock. Friday, we've got 2 fantastic shows. One is Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. And the other is our variety show. We have a special guest who was on The Voice season 14. So please do come back, and we're really happy to have you as we grow our brand. We want to hear from you. We'd love to have you as a sponsor. We'd love to have you as a guest. All you have to do is go to drjacalyn.com, book a session. So with that being said, it's time to go. Thank you, Al.
Thanks, Doc. My pleasure.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.